Hello, and welcome to Kevin's Corner TV. My name is Kevin Horton, and I'm the editor of the Gold Coast Gazette, a weekly newspaper I started along with my mother in 1991. Over the years as editor of the Gold Coast Gazette, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of interesting people. Through this show, I hope to introduce you to some of those people. Hope you enjoy it. Oh, hello. Welcome to Kevin's Corner TV. Actually, that wasn't me playing. I'm here with Dave Nesdall, and we're talking about rock and roll. Dave, thanks for being on the show. This is great.
It's my pleasure. Anytime.
You're amazing. Can you do a little bit more? I won't fake it this time. Excellent, excellent. Dave, tell me about yourself. You are?
Okay. I play music, of course, as you can see. Been playing since I was 5 years old. And my grandmother had, basically, when I was throwing a ball around, and my grandmother had asked me if I wanted to play guitar, and, you know, I figured, okay, why not? So that's how it started.
Wow,
pretty much, yeah.
And what do you do? You're currently playing in a band?
I play in a few different bands here on the island and in Manhattan. I try to make a little bit of a living at it, and it's really fun. It's a great time. I couldn't ask for a better gig or better job, you know. I could be digging ditches for a living, you know, and I'm playing music, entertaining people. It's pretty cool.
Now, practice is the key since you were 5 years old, is that right? Practice,
a lot of listening, a lot of ear training. Because if you can hear the music, you can play it. You know, it's. I learned from singing first. You know, I guess when I was 3 years old, I was singing to "Jesus Christ Superstar" on the record player. You know, singing to that. So
nice.
And it helped me. It helped me musically.
Right. So, what were some of your early influences?
When I was really young, 5 and 6 years old, the Beatles. The Everly Brothers, because I love the vocals, you know, listening to the harmony vocals. I probably didn't realize what harmony vocals were back then, but it just sounded good to me. And as I got a little older, the first rock concert I went to was Van Halen in 1981, and that's really where it started. I was like, wow, that, you know, the women in the crowd were going crazy, and he was playing, you know, these things that I'd never heard before, you know, using his fingers, you know, the tapping and all that stuff, and I wanted to do that. That's when I started really wanting to do this for a living. Right. Or at least I thought I'd like to do it for a living. You know? Right. And it progressed from there. Great.
Now you also do lessons?
Well, I have given lessons. I do enjoy that. I like to teach what I know. Sometimes it's a little unorthodox. I'll find out what a student knows already, or I'll give a student, a prospective student, some sort of thing to do, and then I decide whether I could teach him or her or not.
I know you worked with Todd Kopetic, as a matter of fact, right?
Yeah, when we were a lot younger. And I remember I was going away on vacation, and he wanted to learn how to play guitar. And I gave him an exercise on chords in the first position of the neck, a bunch of them. And I said, I'll be back in a couple weeks, and if you can play these chords, we'll continue. If you can't play these chords, at least you know, with some sort of fluidity, then it's probably best that you take something else up. You know, and with he was a buddy of mine. There, right? He's a buddy of mine, so you know, I could say that to him. Right. But I wouldn't say that to just any student. You know, I'm very patient, and I think anybody can learn. Right. You know, I think I was more just being, you know, the bigger, you know, the tough older brother with him. Right. But
well, it worked because
you know what, he's a great guitar player and a keyboard player, and he's just a really talented guy. So.
Right, and he wrote the theme song to Kevin's Corner.
Really?
Yeah. So it's in the beginning.
That's fantastic.
So
he does a lot of good writing. I mean, all of his stuff is really good. So.
Yeah. As a musician, do you find yourself searching for others of your same caliber and working with them?
It's always easier to play with someone that's the same caliber or better caliber. I actually like to be the guy that looks up to the other musicians, because then I don't have to worry about anyone else but myself. But you know what? It's fun to play with others that are in the beginning to intermediate. You know, because you can teach them, and they got to start somewhere. I started somewhere,
right.
You know, and I played with people that are way better than I am, and that's the way to learn. You learn by playing with people that are better than you.
Yeah.
And
now, do you like live performance or studio performance?
I'm predominantly a live performer. I usually do that between 4 and 5 nights a week. I occasionally get a call to do some studio work, and that's fun. It's hectic, and it's fun, and you know, you got to put your best performance down all the time. You know, it's a picture of your best performance. Yeah. So that's what makes it a little hectic. You can't make mistakes. And
it's different because of.
It's different because, like I said, it's a snapshot of what you're doing, and it's got to be spot on, or else people aren't going to be interested. Yeah.
Now, over the years, music has changed a lot as far as the technology and the engineering and all that.
I use old guitars, an old tube. Well, it's not old, but it's a tube amplifier. That I'm using here is called it's called a Little Bastard, and it's made by Rock and Roll Amps. Jack Kowalowitz is a good friend of mine, and he makes these amps here on Long Island. They're hand wired. This particular one is 40 watts. It's fantastic. It gives you the Fender sound and the Marshall sound that you want. I can't say enough good things about it. It's lightweight, so it doesn't hurt your back. It just sounds wonderful.
So this is a pedal board?
Yeah. Throughout my career in playing, I've played in different wedding bands and different classic rock cover bands. In order to get the sounds of the original artists, you kind of have to have different sounds in a board or in a rack or whatever. And I prefer the pedal board so I can change all the sounds in front of me. I can pretty much get almost any sound that you would hear on a radio. Different bands, you know, from the 50s to today's sound. It's pretty cool, and it's easy to use. I don't actually have to touch any of the pedals. I have in the front here. I have an on-off switcher that I don't have to do a tap dance with my big ugly feet. So that's pretty much it. I've got different sounds from different overdrive pedals to tremolo.
Right.
Even a rotary speaker like a keyboard player would have, some delay, and a tuner to keep my guitar in tune so it doesn't sound like Rocky Horror Show.
Right.
And that's pretty much it.
Cool. So you have an extensive collection of guitars.
Yeah, I do.
Like this one, for example.
I go for the Gibson type sound. I like the Gibson Les Paul, which is what you're using and what I'm using here. It's a beefier sound. To me, it's very comfortable to play. You can pretty much get any sound that you want, any type of tone that you want out of these guitars. They're a little bit heavier in weight. I think that has a lot to do with the big sound, the big brown sound that they do produce. Players like Les Paul, for an example. Warren Haynes, which is one of my favorite guitar players, Dickie Betts from the Allman Brothers, they all use Les Pauls. Eddie Van Halen, before he started making his own guitars in the mid-70s, he was using a Gibson Les Paul. Just, everyone, Peter Frampton, they're just wonderful guitars.
And then all these up here.
Yeah, I have another Les Paul up there. I have a Gibson 335, which is still a beefy sound. It's going to be a little more subdued than a Les Paul because it's semi-hollow. These are all just different tools in my collection that for recording and for live playing as well, depending on what I want to do. The Fender guitars are slightly thinner, brighter sound. You can't get those sounds out of a Gibson, but I have to have those tools in my toolbox, and they're great guitars. I have certain other guitars that were given to me as gifts, and they're wonderful guitars. Like that black and white Ibanez there was given to me as a gift by a very close friend of mine, Larry Mitchell, who's internationally known guitar player. He's played with Billy Squier and Tracy Chapman, and he's a Grammy Award winner. That was his main guitar for many years, and when I met him, I thought it was one of the coolest guitars in the world. And just recently, he sent it to me as a gift, and I love that. That guitar is very sentimental to me. And then behind me, if you can see those, I have some striped guitars from my hero, and I think everyone in the world knows who that would be. So
Van Halen.
yeah, yeah, Eddie Van Halen.
Cool, very nice. Now, some of the people you played with. You played with Richie Cannata.
I played with in fact I play with Richie Cannata every Monday night at the Bitter End in Manhattan. He runs an open jam, which is it's probably the most fun and the best one that I play at. The musicianship is phenomenal. You never know who's going to show up. There's always pro players showing up there. John Mayer, Julio Fernandez from Spyro Gyra plays there all the time. It's a pleasure to play with those guys on that stage. Guys like Jim Moran and George Panos, and just the house band is fantastic. So it's really good.
So how has technology changed for the guitarist?
Well, it depends. In the studio, technology has made it so that you don't really have to use like the stuff I have behind me. If you've got a good engineer and a good producer, they use software in their computer that emulates the amplifiers and the different guitar sounds. You don't even have to have a Gibson Les Paul. You can have anything, and if it's done correctly, you can make it sound like this or very close to it. Again, the engineer has to have a good set of ears, and it could also sound, you know, on the bad side, it could sound over-processed if not done correctly. But in most cases, I don't even use, you know, the amplifiers in the studio. I just, you know, I trust my producer and my engineer, and we use the stuff that's in the computer and plug right in, and I can convey what I want, and it gets done. It's fantastic.
Now you use Todd Kopetic as your engineer, right?
Todd is probably one of the best around, and I trust him, you know, 110%. I don't even have to tell him what I want. He already knows what I want.
Good. So. And then, so the live performance compared to the technology?
Well, live performance, I tend to still use an amplifier. It's just easier access for me. If I want to sound like if I need to sound like Eric Clapton for an Eric Clapton song that I'm doing, I can dial that song in very easily. For any type of artist that I need, I can dial the sound that I need on the fly.
Right.
So it's a little easier for me. It's really not the same. It also doesn't translate the same as it does in the studio or on tape if we're using tape or whatever. It translates. It's bigger live.
Right.
You can get away with using the computer stuff and on tape or in the studio, and it'll sound big. But if you try that live, it doesn't relate the same. It doesn't translate the same.
Now, who do you enjoy playing the most at this point? Van Halen, but
you know what?
I
tend to not play like Van Halen when I'm playing live because you know it doesn't, you know, unless I'm playing a Van Halen song, it doesn't translate. I try to play more like the artist of the song.
Right. So who do you like to play the most?
I like playing like Eric Clapton. I like Dickie Betts. I've always been a big Allman Brothers fan. Warren Haynes he can't do any wrong. He plays all the right notes at the right time. You know, he plays a Gibson Les Paul. Joe Bonamassa, he's one of my new favorite guitar players. He is just phenomenal. He's a young guy. I think he's like 34, 35, and man, he's the biggest. He is just, forget it. I'm a huge fan of his. So.
Now, do you write your own songs?
I do. Todd actually does a lot of the writing, and I'll give him my little input. I don't write as much because I'm more of a live entertainer, and you know, being in my 40s, I don't think I'm going anywhere, you know, as far as, you know, making records and stuff. You know, I think it's more for the younger guys, unless they already have, you know, a history.
Right.
You know.
But when you're up there, I'm sure you're coming up with some stuff.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. I always have stuff in my head, and I've got a lot of music in my brain. So.
Right. So for the kids coming up, what is your advice to them if they're hitting a plateau or they want to learn?
I suggest listening to a lot of Beatles records. Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Anything with a lot of harmonies in the vocals, because that translates to guitar very well as well. You hear different things in the vocal lines, and you can come up with different melodies on your guitar. I always go back to that. You know, when I find myself on when I find myself in a standstill and I'm not, you know, I'm not playing as well, or, you know, like in baseball, a batter has a slump.
Right.
Playing a musician, you can get into a slump as well. And I go back to the basics, and I listen to old Beatles records, and it gets me to where I need to go the next step. So.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, not to put you on the spot, but let's get you onto an acoustic guitar over here, and maybe you can play us out.
Sure.
All right, I appreciate you being on the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. All right, so what do you want to hear?
What would we get?
At least the guitar's in tune, huh?
That's perfect, yeah.
All right, let's see. Lately I've been running on faith. What else can a poor boy do? Said my world will be right if love comes over you. Lately I've been talking in my sleep. Can't imagine what I'd have to say. Said my world will be right. Love comes back your way. I've always been wanna take each and every day. Seems right by now I find a love who cares just for me, and we go running on faith. All of our dreams will come true, and our world will be right. Love comes over me and you.
Fantastic. Thank you for watching this week's episode. Okay, thank you for watching this week's episode of Kevin's Corner TV. I want to remind you to tune in every Friday night at 10 p.m. on channel 115 and also on YouTube, Kevin's Corner TV. See you next week.
The metal note at the end.
Yeah.